I'm on a quest to find the world's best paella. And since paella is arguably the most famous of all Spanish dishes, there was no better place to start than the birthplace of paella, Valencia, Spain. So after traveling all the way here, hours of research, and making reservations days in advance, the time has finally come for me to taste this authentic paella for myself. And you are going to want to stick around until the very end of this video, because not only are we going to different authentic restaurants, but we are also going to be learning how to prepare this delicious cuisine for ourselves. So now it's time to head to the coast. The first stop on our food tour is La Papika, and this place has some amazing history. It's been here for over 120 years. It's sitting beachfront in Valencia, overlooking the Mediterranean Sea, and there's been a ton of very interesting customers here, ranging from Queen Sofia to Ernest Hemingway, and now us. Is the Valencian?
This is the traditional. This is original.
That sounds amazing. You think we'll get that?
Yeah, of course.
That'd be perfect. Now that I've gotten my order for the Valenciana Paella Inn, I want to head over to the kitchen to see exactly how they're preparing it. It takes about 30 minutes to make a fresh, hot plate of paella. So let's go see what they're up to. So this dish, paella, was invented by field workers in Valencia who were working on rice fields, and maybe out of the group of 50 or 60 different workers, they would have one or two come and make this big rice dish made with anything that they could get their hands on, which is why there's chicken, there's rice, there's also different paella dishes that are just based with seafood as well. But this meal has been eaten for a very long time, so now it's time to try it for the first time here in Valencia. Ooh, it's hot. Whoa. It's just like an explosion of flavors. Wow. The seasonings are really, really strong. I would say that you can taste a lot of the meat, and you can tell that there was that meat broth used. Next, we're gonna try the rabbit. It almost reminds me of duck in the way that it's a bit more like oily than chicken. This is definitely a very hearty meal. I can understand why it's something that was associated with work, being done with a long day of work, and coming home to a hot plate of paella would be amazing. And there's so much more left, and I'm already so stuffed. I don't know how we're gonna eat another one of these today, but the food tour must continue. We've arrived at the next restaurant. This one is called Casa Carmela, and the last one is going to be hard to beat. That kitchen was amazing, but there's a line literally out the door for this place, and I already had to make a reservation days in advance, so that's usually a pretty good sign. This place is pretty fancy. The order is in. I was originally thinking that the lobster paella sounded really good, but he very adamantly suggested to get the seafood one, so you gotta go with his recommendation. I'm standing inside of the kitchen here, and it is absolutely boiling hot. There's so many people running around. It's an absolute madhouse in here. And I'm standing in front of this entire tray. They're making maybe 10 of these paellas at the same time. He's been working since 1 p.m. They're here for about 3 to 4 hours working in front of these stoves. One of the things that makes this place so special is that they are using a wood fire underneath to cook the paella, and these men are working in here for at least 3 hours straight. Everyone is dripping sweat. They're running in and out with the giant pots, pouring more of the broth in, pouring the rice in. There's flames everywhere. Absolutely chaotic environment. I'm dying being in here for only a few minutes. Seriously, I can't emphasize enough how insane it is that people are working in here for hours at a time. It's literally just like sweat everywhere. But wow, they have this big thing for all of the broth, and this one right here is ours. Oh, it smells so good.
Get him.
Thank you. This is so satisfying after them having specifically pointed out which of the pans was ours when it was cooking. Totally different smell than the first one. You really can smell the wood, and this one has a lot more of a seared, burned texture on the bottom of it. Oh, it smells so good. Whoa. That's wildly different than the first one we had. This one, the last one, was a meat base. This one, that broth that I showed you in the kitchen, was actually a fish broth. So completely different, much lighter flavor. And there is not as much of the kind of thick paprika type of seasoning on it as well. And you can tell these are just so fresh. You can almost still smell that like salty ocean scent to them. This is turning out to be my favorite part of the entire paella, is this like burnt, crispy part on the bottom. You scrape it off and it's all of this perfectly golden brown, slightly burnt rice. Oh, and it just makes like the sauce so much thicker around the rice. Oh, it's the best. Wow, that was such an amazing paella experience here in Valencia. I think we got such a good look at the different ways that it's prepared, the different flavors and styles of paella, especially between the Valencian with the meats versus the seafoods, but I'm still not understanding exactly how they're cooking up these dishes. So I'm gonna head to Barcelona tonight, and tomorrow we're gonna go to the Boqueria, the giant local market in Barcelona, meet up with a local chef, and we're gonna be cooking some authentic paella for ourselves. So I'll see you tomorrow.
These are the red prawn. You've got the bay prawn. That's a crab. Yeah, oh yeah, no. Oftentimes, your seafood will be alive as well, depending on the season. But definitely, some of the things will be alive, like your lobsters and your crabs, for example. All of your shellfish is going to be alive as well. So what he's doing is he's going to cut some of this great ham right off the leg, and actually this is the best way to get it because the flavor is going to be much more intense. You can tell if it's a good ham. It's got those little circles like you see in Parmesan cheese. It's like a little circle of crystals. Same thing is going to be in this ham, so go ahead, grab a nice slice. I recommend it. You know, I might have to try it as well. It just looks too good.
Oh my gosh, you have the best job ever. It just dissolves in your mouth. There is like that salt flavor to it from it being cured for 2 years, 3 years.
This is 3.
collected everything that we need from La Boqueria. We got some nice juice because it's getting pretty hot out here. And now it's time to head back to Josh's kitchen to cook everything up. We have now arrived in the Paella Headquarters. This is where the magic happens.
That's right. We are in my kitchen here in Barcelona, in the center of the city, where we make a lot of paellas and of course some tapas as well.
We've got the big pots. We've got all the fresh ingredients now, and yeah, show me the ropes. Where do we start?
Let's start with sangria.
Let's start with the alcohol. That's perfect.
Okay, so first step is going to be to slice up the fruit and pop it into the bowl here.
Okay.
Get all of this fruit sliced up, and then we're going to put some liquor on top of it, and the liquor is going to draw out the flavor. Essentially, we're going to be infusing the liquor with the flavor of the fruit. So we've got some rum, we've got some brandy, and we also have some triple sec. And we're going to put 1 shot of each of those for 1 bottle of wine. So just try to make sure that the liquor from the bottom spills over the fruit.
So now, while we wait for the fruit to marinate, what should we do next?
What we want to do now is prep a few ingredients for making a really good sofrito, and that's going to give a lot of great base flavor to our paella. Now this is going to make a hell of a smell, right? Because we're grating onions.
Crying?
Yeah, you will start crying. Right. So it's time to make sangria. Our first step is going to be to add in the orange juice into the pitcher here. After we get a little touch of orange juice in there, we have to decide how much sugar to add in. Right? Now typically sangria will have a lot of sugar. I don't like to put so much in, but it's up to you how much you want to put in there. For me, a perfect amount is about 1 tablespoon. So go ahead and choose the amount of sugar you want to put in there.
Does that look about good?
That looks fine.
Voila.
First, we're just going to make sure to get all of that liquor in there. And then once we get all the liquor in there, we'll go ahead and put a few pieces of fruit into there as well. We're going to be using a white wine today. This is a verdejo, which is a kind of fruity white wine. You can use a fruity white wine or a dry white wine. Honestly, doesn't matter. Just use a white wine that doesn't have too much barrel flavor. Pour all of this wine into there.
Bottoms up.
All right, so the next step is to put some fruit and ice into our glasses. All right, so last step is lemon soda. Exactly. Here in Catalonia, people use lemon soda in the sangria, whereas in most of Spain, they're actually going to use gaseosa, which is bubbly water with artificial sweetener in it. They're both really good, but I kind of prefer the lemon soda, so let's just add about like the total of 1 can of lemon soda.
Okay.
Fruit and the ice, and then you just pour yourself a nice glass of sangria. We are ready to cook paella. You ready?
Yes, I'm so ready.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Mix that rice around with all those ingredients. Once it's well mixed around, go ahead and spread it out real well. All of those flavors are ready to go, so what we're going to do is we're going to add our broth now. You can see we've got our broth at a super high temperature.
Oh, I can finally say for one of the first times in my life that I worked over a hot stove to prepare this meal, so I'm so ready.
Let's do it.
The pan is so large, it looks like an absolutely gigantic meal, but because it's so thin, it's not actually going to be leftovers for weeks.
It looks like a ton of food, but in the end, yeah, it's actually just the right amount. You can see it's kind of stuck to the bottom there. That's the part which is our socarrat.
Thank you so much again for leading through this experience.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Ooh. Wow. It's so rich. You can really tell the, what was the name of the glaze thing that we were creating in the middle?
The fond.
The fond. I think that's the secret sauce is it's in the fond. But it's not like too overwhelming, and you can still taste all of the other elements, the peppers, the clams and the mussels. Wow. This is definitely one of the best meals I've had. This is great.
Wow.
I'm impressed.
Well, thank you.
So much.
Well, you cooked it.
Oh, well. Well, yes, I will actually take all of the credit here. But if people want to have a similar experience to this in Barcelona, where can they find you?
They can find me on the internet at Barcelona Paella Experience. I'm at, of course, barcelona-paella.com.
Oh, this is waiting for you. This is perfect. Well, cheers.
Cheers to you.